Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Assen, where Martinator is back and firing on a Saturday morning. Jorge Martin, whose name I'm sure you'll all agree is synonymous with one lap electric speed, has finally picked up his first pole position in the black of Aprilia in a qualifying session that was dominated by the Noali factory. What a response. It's been a tumultuous 2 weeks, 3 weeks for the Italian factory. The coming together, three of their riders ending up strewn across the floor on the opening lap of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Everything that unfolded at the Czech Grand Prix 1 week ago, but they have bounced back, fired back in very impressive fashion for the very first time in Aprilia history. They lock out the top 4 places on the MotoGP grid. Martin, Agura, Bezzecchi and Fernandez will take positions 1, 2, 3 and 4 on the grid for the sprint coming up later on this afternoon. A brilliant job by Aprilia and the perfect response in the fight for the World Championship against Ducati. When it comes to Ducati, will they have to settle for 5th, 6th and 7th with their GP26 machines? Pecco Bagnaia, the best of the lot, in the middle of the second row of the grid ahead of Fabio Di Giannantonio, with Marc Marquez having to settle on a weekend where he said points make prizes. He's looking long term, he's looking big picture. With the third row of the grid for Marc Marquez, you would have to say that a pair of top 5 finishes Marc Marquez will be very, very happy with before we then head to the Saxon Ring, and we know what is likely to unfold there. Joining Marc Marquez on that third row of the grid, Pedro Acosta, who had not one but 2 further technical issues as the pressure really starts to ramp up on KTM's technical team. It is becoming a bit of a crisis for KTM and for Pedro Acosta's motorcycles. It's seemingly only Pedro's bikes that keep cutting out. It cut out on the final lap of the Czech Grand Prix. There was an issue yesterday. 2 further issues this morning. It's becoming a real issue, and there's going to be some very, very strong conversations had down at KTM to try and find some answers, to try and find a resolution, because it's becoming a bit of a safety issue. You'd have to say just the frequency at which the RC16 is cutting out at the moment. They have to do something to stop it, because, yeah, it's a very, very tough moment for KTM. And all in all, it's becoming a bit of an embarrassing saga for them, for motorcycles to be stopping at the frequency at which they are. Pedro Acosta will, however, line up middle of the third row. Fabio Quartararo in 9th spot. Brilliant job to come through Q1 by the Frenchman. Top Japanese motorcycle. That Yamaha does not deserve to be on the third row of the grid. Fabio Quartararo, however, does deserve to be on the front 3 rows of the grid, if not further up. Just brilliance from the man that was on pole position last year, just 12 months ago. And you feel as though that performance today is equal to that of 12 months ago when he was on pole position. But this time around, the Yamaha are only capable of sneaking onto the third row of the grid. But our focus, of course, will be on Aprilia after that landmark day for the Noali factory. As we said, 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. It could well have been pole position in the end for Raul Fernandez. He did set the fastest lap of that Q2 session before the smallest, the marginal track limits violation coming at the final corner, would you believe, in the end robbing Fernandez of a front row start, robbing him of pole position. He had to settle for 4th, and that would have been a pretty big moment, you would have to say, because that, for a split second, dumped Marco Bezzecchi, the World Championship leader, onto the second row of the grid. And you feel as though this could be a bit of a turning point in the World Championship. Not to get too carried away, but for so often we've been speaking about the fact that if Jorge Martin, if Agura can manage to find some answers, can manage to find some feeling over one lap in qualifying trim, then they're going to put Bez under huge amounts of pressure. Bezzecchi fastest in both of the practice sessions yesterday and the one this morning. Clearly is in very, very good form. But in sprint trim, we know how good Jorge Martin is going to be. He's going to be very, very tough to beat, you would have to say. He's certainly going to really fancy his chances at potentially taking a championship lead away from Marco Bezzecchi this weekend. Only 8 points the difference, as we see a motorcycle probably fit for my size. That is a factory Ducati made out of wood. It's very nice, actually, as I say. Definitely my sized bike, that one. I might see if I can take it for a spin, set a lap record on it later. And for Aigura as well, as we were saying, showcasing his talent, showcasing what he's capable of doing last weekend in Brno with a pair of second places. You see Pecco Bagnaia is looking at a motorcycle that I imagine is just a fraction slower than what he's just jumped on, his GP26 machine. As you can see, the TT Circuit Assen Medical Services here, the guys that help keep Pecco Bagnaia and the rest of his competitors safe. And nice of them to put this together and get some signatures from Pecco, and we'll see if we can just grab a quick word from Pecco. I'm sure he's not the happiest in the world as a result of that, but he is best of the Ducatis, and so he just very quickly squeeze in. Pecco, top Ducati in a day dominated by Aprilia so far. What thoughts at the end of it? We wait for the baggers to go past.
It's not bad, because I think we are working well. Also this morning with used tires we were quite fast. At the moment Aprilia have another pace, but we were very close, and I'm struggling a bit to be very precise on a single lap, but I think that we are a bit more competitive on race pace, but let's see this afternoon.
Good luck this afternoon. Saying that bike more my size, so I need to try and get my hands on.
I like it.
It looks good, it looks good. Not as fast as yours, but fast enough anyway. Pecco Bagnaia, that's, you can tell the frustration there. He's coming to the weekend, Bagnaia, feeling that he had a great chance at victory, being on the podium, but he's maximised, you feel, what is at his disposal. As we said, top Ducati, ahead of Gian Antonio, ahead of Marquez, but the Aprilias just have that step on them at the moment. But that is what it's going to be like in this MotoGP season. We've spoken at length. Ducati have had their opportunities. They've cashed in over the last couple of weekends. Back-to-back victories for Marc Marquez, of course. Bagnaia himself, sprint victory in Brno, and has been on a great run of podium finishes in Grand Prix. But the motorcycles are so equal, have such different strengths and weaknesses, that we're going to get to venues where the Ducati is the bike to be on, and it's about how the Aprilia responds and make sure that they maximise what is on offer for them. And then this weekend, it's clear that the Aprilia, with its ability to turn, at speed, is clearly the bike to be on. So what can Ducati do to make sure they come away from this weekend without giving up too much? That's certainly going to have to be the mindset of Pecco Bagnaia and of Marc Marquez when they're looking big picture, looking at the World Championship fight. So a fascinating race ahead, and we come back to the Aprilia domination. But one of the key phrases of the season so far, given what unfolded afterwards, was following on from the Catalan Grand Prix, when we saw the collision between Jorge Martin and Ralph Fernandez, and the tempers that flared as a result. Paulo Bonora stating that he needed total respect when it comes to wheel-to-wheel fighting between the Aprilia riders. Well, now that they're 1, 2, 3 and 4 on the grid, on a place that is tricky to overtake at, is narrow, is fast, it cannot allow for any lunges. And with the temperatures, as you well know, given the heat wave that is sweeping across Europe at the moment, those red hot temperatures, those uncharacteristic temperatures, are going to mean that front tyre temperature, and I know that this is a topic that I find boring, I'm sure you guys find boring as well, because it doesn't really lead us to having much action and much fun on track, but unfortunately it is going to play a role. It's red hot, front tyre temperature is going to be key, and as a result those opening couple of laps will be crucial, where you have to be aggressive, you have to get track position, because once you settle into position, It's going to be very difficult as the laps tick on to try and find any kind of response, especially in the sprint format. So those two things are ever so slightly counterintuitive. You've got, on the one hand, the requirement from the Aprilia bosses to act with total respect, and on the other hand, a race scenario where you have to be aggressive. You've got to get your elbows out if you're to go and take victory, if you go and fight for the podium places. So that is going to make things very, very interesting. As we're down here at Trackhouse, we'll just hang about ever so slightly to see if there is anyone in an Aprilia shirt, in a Trackhouse shirt, sorry, that we can get some kind of reaction to. I'm not seeing too much movement down here, sadly, at the moment. But yeah, a fascinating sprint coming up for all of the above reasons. How did Ducati respond? How does Marco Bezzecchi respond? He would have been hopeful of taking pole position there, pretty confident of taking pole position. Have to add, was a bit of misfortune that Acosta's KTM RC16 coming to a stop did bring out the yellow flags for a momentary second. And for Bez, he was very unlucky that momentary second was as he was going through the third sector. That was going to be his best lap. That was when his tyres were at their freshest and he had to roll off. And that was the lap that Jorge Martin was able to punch in to take pole position. So how will it unfold? We'll have to wait and see. We'll finish off just by coming back down to Aprilia. As we said, 8 points the difference between Marco Bezzecchi, who we've just missed running into the Aprilia garage. But we'll leave him to it because the World Championship leader is a busy man, a focused man this weekend. He feels that he has a mission at hand, a job to do. So we see Paolo Bonoro. Paolo, good job. Happy?
Very happy, absolutely happy. An amazing result. The first time for Aprilia that lock out the qualifying podium. So it is a very important result for us. It is such an important result that gives us even more motivation. As I told you 15 minutes ago.
With a different microphone.
With a different microphone, but it was important after 2 difficult races, because it's necessary to be very honest and transparent. 2 difficult races for different reasons, to show to ourselves, first of all, to ourselves that we are still Aprilia Racing, we are still Trackhouse, the bike is good and the rider are motivated and prepared for the race.
And you're still in this championship fight. The quote that sticks out in my mind with Aprilia's 1, 2, 3 and 4 is total respect. Again, that's going to be necessary.
You are so smart. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I am, yes.
Total respect. Respect of each other and of the brand, for sure.
It's going to be interesting. Good luck.
Thanks.
There we go. Paolo Bonoro, just to finish us off, a very happy Paolo Bonoro, and for good reason as well. A historic day for Aprilia. 1, 2, 3 and 4 on the grid as they dominated qualifying here at the Dutch TT. Now all eyes on the sprint and the Dutch TT coming up tomorrow at 2 o'clock local time. Sprint 3 o'clock local time. Total respect necessary from all 4 Aprilia riders. All 4 feel they're in the World Championship fight. Will they listen to those orders, or will one of them go astray, get their elbows out, and maybe cause a few talking points and an opportunity for the Ducatis playing catch-up to cash in on? It's going to be fascinating. 3 o'clock local time. Tune in and find out how the Dutch TT sprint unfolds.